welcome to the 54th episode of the Veggies Abroad Travel Podcast. I am your host and chief veggie pusher, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. If you're new around here, Veggies Abroad is a travel company that believes exploration should be a force for good. And for us, that starts with being plant-powered. Every trip we design is guided by compassion for people, animals, and the planet. From custom trip planning and small group adventures to our blog packed with guides, tips, and inspiration. And of course, this podcast. This show is all about shining a light on the businesses, people, and ideas that make travel better. From vegan-friendly experiences to responsible tourism practices and community empowerment. Because those are the things we need more of and the things worth supporting when we travel. Just a couple of updates before we jump into today's episode, which I think will be helpful to many of you, especially as we get close to entering winter's chilly clutches. Our entire lineup of 2026 tours is now on the website and open for booking. The last two trips that we added are return trips to Iceland and to Thailand, with a few changes. For one, the Iceland trip will now be in October, which will give travelers the opportunity, hopefully, pending weather, to see the beautiful northern lights. That would be a really special experience. And for Thailand, we added in an opportunity to learn about the Karen community near Chiang Mai. Members of the community will manage one of the trails that we will trek, and during that, we will get to understand how this experience helps provide a sustainable income and preserves traditional knowledge for the community. And then we wrap up the trip with our island time in Phuket. One other tour update, if you've been considering going to Costa Rica or Colombia, those deadlines are both in January, so don't wait, and those trips are in April as well. January will be here before we know it. It's like knocking on the door. As always, if you have questions about any of the trips or just general travel stuff, don't hesitate to reach out. And if you're curious about these trips, you can follow along because we have two trips coming up. Actually, when you guys listen to this, I might already be in Thailand for the two trips that we have there in November and December. And I will post about all of those adventures on Instagram. So on to today's episode. When you think of the Caribbean, you probably picture turquoise waters, palm trees, maybe a pina colada in hand. But what about a vegan feast by the beach? Many of you listening are probably thinking, yeah, right, sure. Pass, probably not happening. Well, luckily, on some of the islands, things are changing. And today we're diving into islands that are leading the way. The places where you can savor everything from vegan mofongo to fresh tropical smoothie bowls. We'll spotlight 3 destinations that we think are the best for veggie fans and share what makes each one special for conscious travelers. Whether you're dreaming of a laid-back beach escape or an island adventure packed with culture and flavor, you'll find plenty of inspiration to start planning your next plant-powered getaway. So grab your sunscreen and your appetite. Let's explore the most vegan-friendly islands in the Caribbean. And joining me once again to break this down is Matt, a man who believes no trip is complete without at least one vegan donut and 2 complaints about salad. Hi, Matt.
Hi, it's me, and I do love vegan donuts, and I do dislike salad.
That sounded like the most forced response in the history of responses.
It was terrible. Sorry.
Yeah, it was. We'll give you another time to try again. But getting back to the Caribbean, okay, so we already set up. People think, that the Caribbean is a beautiful place, but vegan food doesn't really come into mind. So that is why we wanted to do this episode. It is getting into that time of year where searches for Caribbean resorts pick up. My inbox fills up with people wanting to know about where to go that's a beach destination. So it seemed like a good time to drop this episode. But before we dive into these specific islands, I want to just kind of set the stage of why we chose these 3. And it was based on a number of things. So a mix of restaurants, activities, and hotels. So each of the islands has a good availability of vegan or vegan-friendly restaurants, and then also hotel options so that you can have the full package. I was going to say fully vegan restaurants, but I say more vegan friendly because in some of them, vegan restaurants have unfortunately closed. When I was doing some research, I was like, oh, this place is so great. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh no, it's closed since the last time I was there.
So when you're going about setting up your travel, like for you personally, is is your main thought process like vegan food, or is your main thought process, I want to go to a specific destination?
Normally, it's a specific destination, and then the food part of it gets wrapped into that because it will come from either places that I am interested in when I can, or based on where I get requests or where I need to learn more about. And, then I go from there.
So then your customers too, are they, when they're calling you, are they like, I need to figure out some place that's vegan, or I need to figure out how to eat vegan food at this specific place?
Most of the time, people call because they want to have they don't call, they email. Most of the time, people reach out because they don't want to do all of the work of putting together an entire vacation and find out where can they eat, where can they stay, where are the places. So I take all of that effort off of their shoulders. And, for the most part, most of the clients are vegan or vegetarian, or it's a mixed crowd. So it's like a family where a couple of them are vegan or vegetarian and the rest aren't, but the rest don't want their other friends or family to miss out. So they want to make sure that they're going somewhere that can take care of everybody and that the vegans don't get left with pineapple.
And so the reason I'm asking that is because we're going to start talking about the Caribbean today. And to me, I know that there's, not always a ton of vegan options on the islands in the Caribbean. So when you asked me to start looking at places and I started doing a little research, I was like kind of struggling. I was having a difficult time because I'm like, well, I really like this place, but there's not a ton of vegan food there. So,
it can be a problem. It's also funny that I say Caribbean, and you say Caribbean. Just to point that out, it's going to annoy me the rest of the time. But yeah, the Caribbean islands can be a challenge. I will say overall, they've gotten a little bit easier, but some of them still, like you brought up to me Turks and Caicos, and I was like, no, scratch that. Like you're really going to have to work at it. And there are some bougie resorts that have some options, but they're real bougie. And that doesn't really bode super vegan friendly in my book.
But that's not to say you can't go to Turks and Caicos. Like you can go to Turks and Caicos, have a really good time, and probably still eat vegan. It's just that you're not going to be going out and finding like all vegan restaurants. You're going to find
you will survive, you will eat falafel, and you will go to the grocery store, and that is going to be your experience. So that's going to be wildly different than the 3 islands that we'll talk about today, where you don't have to feel like you're sacrificing so much and eating so many French fries. Like that's just the experience. And some people that's okay because they want to see the beautiful place and they're just like, forget it. Like I'll suck it up. But other people, no, they don't want to suck it up because there are other places with options. So, okay. With that, let's jump into the first island on the list, which is one of my favorites and one that we've talked about before. And it is Puerto Rico.
All right. Puerto Rico has a growing list of vegan-friendly options. What makes it such a standout?
So, I think it's a bit of a mix of things. I think tourism affects it. Tourism affects all of the islands, really. And also culture and just the growing interest in the plant-based movement. In the capital, there are a lot of vegan, vegetarian, and pretty vegan-friendly restaurants, nearly 20 to be exact, which I was really surprised when we went to San Juan. Outside of San Juan, the vegan vegetarian scene isn't quite as abundant, but I was still really impressed to find either like super veggie friendly places or even some vegetarian places in like really rural towns. I didn't expect to see that. And let's see, the other incredible things that Puerto Rico offers that many other islands don't are vegan and vegetarian hotels. So you really can get a full planning package with it. And I think something else that's really nice about Puerto Rico is that it's really accessible from the US. It's easy to drive for the most part. And so it makes getting around, not a challenge. And, I think too, it's a little bit more budget friendly And so that helps. So you could have an ultra luxe experience, or you can be a little bit more budget friendly. And so I think it's more accessible to a more diverse crowd.
You still haven't mentioned Bad Bunny yet, but even though
So what does Bad Bunny have to do with the island's vegan friendliness?
it really doesn't. I just want to bring Bad Bunny up anytime we can talk about
Bad Bunny,
Puerto
yeah.
Rico. But so you were mentioning the hotels that are vegan friendly.
Mhm.
Can you expand on some of those hotels a little bit and what makes them vegan friendly? Do they have like full scale buffets, or do they have a restaurant within them that has vegan options? Or
Yeah, so there's one vegan hotel and a vegetarian one in San Juan. The vegetarian one serves breakfast in the morning, and they do sometimes do special chef's dinners as well, but there isn't like a regular lunch or dinner service. It's really nice. It's super cute. It's one of those places that you walk in and you're like, I'm never going to forget this place. It's just a really, really beautiful place. Then the other one is vegetarian and always has some really great vegan options. They had a really great guide in their rooms that pointed out some of the additional vegan and vegetarian places in town too, which I thought was a really nice touch. Then the vegan hotel that's in San Juan, it's called La Botanica. It has a sister hotel on the island of Vieques, which is a short plane ride or a drive and a ferry ride from the main part of Puerto Rico. And that hotel is also beautiful, and it's vegan as well. They do breakfast. They have a little kitchenette in all of the rooms, and then they also do chef's dinners sometimes as well. So that's really nice that you can have such a diverse experience. And then in addition to those three, which I think are kind of the standouts, they're in El Rincon near El Yunque. There is another hotel. I think it's called the Treehouse or Tree Houses, and they do not serve meat on property. It is vegetarian, and in the rooms, they leave you with granola. They'll provide you with coconut yogurt and some other things, which is really nice. And then they have a restaurant on site for dinner. That they serve just for the hotel guest, and vegan options are not a problem because again, it's fully vegetarian. And there are a couple other ones that are similar, cut kind of from the similar cloth of that. And so I think that really makes Puerto Rico stand out. There isn't another island that offers that diversity of accommodations.
would you recommend earplugs for anyone staying in the jungle?
I would recommend earplugs for anyone going to Puerto Rico because those damn frogs. What were those frogs called again? Evil?
I think they were croaky. Was it croaky?
Croaky frogs. Coqui frogs, croaky. Yeah, because I thought they were going to croak. They're loud. I'm a troubled sleeper, and so those coqui frogs got to me multiple times. I'm not a fan.
I just remember we were in the middle of the jungle there, and kind of like a central part of the island, and we were staying in a very eco-friendly type place, and the coquis were just
They were
nonstop
screaming. I don't know
all
what
night.
was going on with those damn frogs. I'll never forget them. Actually, I
But
almost did.
some people really love that. Like they think that's the greatest thing in the world, and they think it's so peaceful and naturey.
Yeah,
And,
I guess I'm
you
too
know,
high strung for that. I don't know what that says about me, but anyway,
remember we had like a little veranda there, and I imagine people like sitting out there, sleeping on the hammock, and
probably
listening to the
the
coquis
cookie
frogs.
frogs. Yes.
Yeah. So, how does Puerto Rico balance its local culinary identity, like mofongo or pastelón, with modern plant-based twists?
So there are a lot of great Puerto Rican dishes that you can get veganized, and I forgot to say this at the onset. There are a handful of guides and articles that will help support this episode and will help support your planning. And so there is one for this as well. So I will drop those all in the show notes so that you guys can read them at your leisure, use them to book your trips. So with food, some of the popular dishes include mofongo, which I mentioned at the very beginning, which is deep fried plantains that are mashed with garlic and salt. And it's often made with meat, but there are veggie versions with either other vegetables or meat alternatives. We had, I feel like, three different versions of them, and it was all pretty good. There were a couple that I was like, meh, I don't want this ever again. But there were some that I was like, I like that. Another one is alcapurrias. They are deep fried fritters. This is not a health food, made from yutia, green banana, and plantain dough. Often they're filled with meat. The vegan versions are either plain or they're filled with like a meat alternative. They sound really good. Anything with plantain dough always intrigues me. Another is arroz con granules, and it's rice and beans or pigeon peas, and sometimes it's mixed with like a veggie sofrito, and rice. Empadillas, and those are turnovers, little turnovers filled with some kind of veggie filling. And then the last one is papareanas, and those are mashed potato croquettes stuffed with a veggie meat or plain, and then they're fried, and those are quite tasty. I mean, everyone loves a potato. You can't go wrong. So those are some really good ones that you can find at different restaurants around town. And so you really you really don't miss out on anything. Hey there, fantastic listeners. Let's hit pause on this episode for a thrilling announcement, a golden ticket to globe-trot with Veggies Abroad. Veggies Abroad isn't just your go-to for vegan guides and trip planning tips. It's your passport to extraordinary small group journeys, carefully crafted by the ultimate veggie pusher and your favorite podcast host, me, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. I've spent countless hours researching the best vegan hotels, food, and experiences, and now I'm bringing those experiences directly to you. Join me and my newfound veggie pals on escapades to exotic and exciting destinations around the world. Whether it's trekking through the Thai jungle to witness elephants in their natural habitat or exploring Iceland's famous ring road, our adventures are nothing short of spectacular. And guess what? Those aren't the only exciting trips awaiting you. So what are you waiting for? Cruise on over to veggiesabroad.com pronto. Well, how about after this episode is over to explore our dazzling lineup of tours and secure your spot today.
I remember that place in El Yunque. Was it called Juice?
No, it was called 42 Degrees. It was a juice bar. Yeah.
Yes. 42 Degrees Juice Bar. I just remember the food there was really, really good, and they had some really great smoothies, and it was very nourishing. And I felt like I really needed it at the time, and I would suggest that to anyone going to El Yunque.
It's probably because you had too many alcapurrias.
See. So we talked about, some of the food, but tell me about some of the things you can do in Puerto Rico. Like what different types of adventures can you go on and things to see? I mean, naturally you're going to see the ocean and you're going to have the beach and the warmth, but what other types of things can you do there?
So I think Puerto Rico is really great for a diversity of clients. Like if you want to, or diversity of travelers, I should say, sorry. If you are interested in just hanging out on the beach, you could do that. But I think it's really the best for travelers who are interested in nature. They're interested in exploring. They're not really interested in an all-inclusive experience. What's interesting is that there actually aren't any all-inclusive resorts on the island. And I was talking to a hotelier, and she was saying that she thinks that it's because the food scene is so strong throughout San Juan and just through the area. And they take great pride with like getting people out to restaurants and dining and entertainment. And so the idea of all-inclusive never really took shape, which I think it's great. You really should get out of the hotel, go and explore. And Puerto Rico is a really great place to do that. And some of the, beautiful things that you might want to check out, one of the popular ones is bioluminescent bay kayaking. And so there are 3 different bioluminescent bays in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is actually really famous for this. And in case you're like, what? A bioluminescent bay is a rare natural phenomenon where the water glows. It really does glow at night due to the presence of microscopic organisms. These tiny plankton emit light when they're disturbed. And so when we did it, really kind of challenging to see it. So you need to use a tarp to kind of cover the water to create real darkness. If you have any moonlight, it's going to kind of affect that. So the tarp really helps to create that. And so just moving the kayak paddle, you could see the glow. Putting your hand in it, you could see the glow. It was really, really neat thing to see. So 3 areas where you could go for this. The brightest and the most famous, it's often been rated as the best in the world, actually, is Mosquito Bay, and that's off of Vieques Island. Then Laguna Grande, which is near Fajardo. That is the most accessible from San Juan. That's where we went. And on the other side of the island, near Lajas, is La Puerguera, and it's the only bay where you're allowed to swim in the water, actually, which I think is interesting.
One of my most memorable parts of that whole experience of going into that bioluminescent bay was we kayaked at basically dusk, and it turned like pitch black. And we're in this kayak and this really narrow, like in the mangroves, in these little narrow like waterways going into this bay. And then we got into the bay, and then we all huddled up really close. We tied our boats together, and then we took the tarp and we threw the tarp over all of us. And then it was just so cool being able to like wave your hand in the water and see all the bioluminescence from the microorganisms. But that was a cool experience. I really enjoyed that.
It was cool. And so in addition to the bioluminescence, there's plenty of hiking. El Yunque is where most people go. It's the only rainforest actually in the U.S. You can also, on the other side of the island is the Guanica State Forest, which this is really interesting. It's one of the most extensive tropical dry coastal forests. It's over 10,000 acres, and it's a really striking contrast to the rainforest and the like lush jungle of the rest of the islands. So here you'll find cacti, twisted trees, like desert landscape, which you wouldn't expect to find on an island.
Straight up desert.
Straight up desert. And then also taking a visit, if you have time, to 2 beautiful islands, Culebra and Vieques, which we've already mentioned. They're really beautiful. I think those are kind of what they're really quintessential, like turquoise islands, what you think of in the Caribbean. And then coffee is also popular in Puerto Rico. There are coffee farms that grow, harvest, and roast their own coffee. One that's only about 40 minutes from San Juan is Hacienda Muñez. And so that would be a really great experience also for any coffee lovers that are listening.
I just remember driving to the other side of the island from San Juan. And when we went to Ponce,
looking it up on the map right now?
I was trying to remember the name of the city, but like going to Ponce, and which used to be the capital, and it has all this really old architecture, and you can tell it used to be so beautiful. Yeah. And it just felt like absolutely abandoned. And basically it was abandoned when they moved the capital to San Juan. But and then the other striking thing about being from one island to the other side was we were dressed for like 72-degree weather in San Juan, and it was kind of, you had a coastal breeze and it was comfortable. But then when we went to the other side of the island in Ponce, it was
hot.
Hotter than a pistol, and that sun was beating down on us. So bring sunscreen, people. Bring sunscreen.
Sunscreen for all of the islands, whether it's 72 or a million.
So that was island number 1. Was there anything else you have remaining to talk about for Puerto Rico?
I think my last little bit about Puerto Rico is, if you're going in San Juan, make sure you go to the restaurant Belengueri. It's a cute vegetarian place right outside, right in the center of San Juan. It's amazing. Loved it. It's open for breakfast and lunch. It's not open for dinner. I always send people there, and they always text me and they're like, I love this place. So don't miss that. It
was delicious. I agree.
So next up on our list, number 2, Aruba.
So Aruba has been called the most vegan-friendly island in the Caribbean. What's driving that reputation?
So 2 things. Again, tourism, I think, has an effect, but also there is a really great organization on the island called Vegan Hospitality. We actually had a podcast a while back with the person who founded the organization. And so she's from there, or she's based there. Her family lives in Aruba. And when she went vegan, she realized, oh my God, I can't go out to eat. And so she really started quietly advocating for more options in restaurants. And then, over time that grew, and it actually grew into a full force or a nonprofit now organization. And they advocate for options in hotels and different places around the world, which is really incredible. So she really had a huge impact on the island, and helping hotels develop menus and helping restaurants, figure out how to use tofu. So that has been really incredible. I think that's one of the unique ones in the Caribbean.
So, random fact.
Oh,
For a brief period in the 18th century, Aruba experienced its own gold rush, with
really?
over 3 million pounds of gold discovered on the island over the decades. The remnants of old gold smelters can still be visited at the Bushirabana and the Balashi ruins.
Interesting. I did not go gold hunting when I was there, but good to know for the future.
I mean, maybe we should have. Jeez, right.
I'm good.
All right, so going back to what really matters, can you share a few standout restaurants or experiences that really impressed you while you were in Aruba?
Yeah. So one place, and this is again another place I always send people to, and I always remember. We had dinner at a place called Yamanja Wood Fired Grill, and it's a vegan-friendly spot. Sadly, Aruba had a couple vegan spots, but it seems all of them have closed. So that's a huge bummer. But Yamanja is great. It's vegan-friendly. It's super creative. They focus on a more like plant-forward menu. You do need a reservation. We got lucky and snuck in at the bar. And then I think maybe we were able to get another reservation another night. We went twice. It was that great. And then let's see, another one that's super cute. There is a beach shack. It's called Eduardo's Beach Shack, actually. And then Eduardo also has a hideaway, which is actually a cafe. And they have a really great vegan-friendly mix of like smoothie bowls, tacos, waffles, all kinds of different things. And then hotels. Again, Aruba is really kind of leading the way with additional vegan-friendly options. There are 3 that I normally always use and recommend. One of them, Bukudi and Terra, is the first carbon neutral certified resort in the Caribbean, which is also really fantastic. So a lot of these places, actually, all 3 of them off the top of my head, all have really strong environmental and community initiatives. I think the one might be a certified B Corp now, or in the process of becoming one, which is awesome, on top of the plant forward menus. So that also makes Aruba kind of stand out.
What do you think Aruba gets right that other islands could learn from? Is it the openness of the tourism industry, local advocacy, or traveler demand?
I think, well, so I think what Aruba gets right is that it balances the vegan friendliness in all of its restaurants, and it has that offering so that when travelers are traveling together in groups, they don't have to choose, or some people go to one place, or they're only really focused on one audience. So Aruba does a really great job of trying to offer something for everyone. So you don't have to worry, like, if you go with your dad, that you're going to starve and just have to eat French fries, which is, really nice and an actual thing that has happened. And I think, another really good thing that other islands could learn from this, and actually all travelers could learn from this, is that advocating for what you want can make an impact. And that was seen with Aruba, with one person who went restaurant to restaurant, who called all these places, who was like, hey, what do you have that's vegan? What can you actually make me? And made an impact. So anybody who's listening thinking like that your voice doesn't matter, it absolutely does. And then if you get your friend involved, if you share things on social media, you can really make a difference.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think one of your first travelers that you ever sent on an individual trip, you sent to Aruba.
I did, yes. Good memory.
Do you remember where you sent him? And any aspects of that itinerary? I know that was like a billion years ago,
It
but
wasn't a billion years ago. It was just in
I know,
2023.
but it feels like it. I mean, we're already in 2025. That's 2 years ago, and you've helped so many people plan great vegan adventures. So
Oh, thanks for sucking up. Guys, he wants chocolate or something after this. This is the only reason he's saying that. I don't recall. He did not have a super intense itinerary. He wanted to explore. He rented a car and stayed at a really cute little casita. And I think, he went to the other side of the island and did some, hiking, laid on the beach. And generally speaking, for an itinerary like that, I don't. Well, no, actually, it just really depends on the traveler and what they want. Sometimes people really want a lot of activities, and sometimes people are like, no, let me wander. And he wanted to do some wandering.
does Aruba feel like the kind of place where you just go and you relax and lay on a beach, or is there a lot of things to do there?
Yeah, I think Aruba is a really great beach destination. It's a really great relaxing. If you're into the spa, those are great options for that. If you do want to do a little exploration on the other side of the island, opposite where all the beaches are, is, completely different landscape. It's a desert and has really beautiful cliffs. It's wild in comparison to the pristine white sands and the turquoise waters on the other side. There's actually a national park there. It's called Aracoke National Park. It's really a cool place to go for a day or afternoon. Take a car and drive over there. And, you could also find some quieter beaches, not on that side of the island, and the southern part of the island, or do some hiking. And so I mentioned car. I do think it's a good idea to rent a car for maybe a couple days for your exploration, because getting around by bus is really a challenge. Our last island on the list, and you're really going to have to sell me on this one because I was at first kind of like, what? But maybe, is St. Lucia. So tell me, my friend, why do you think Lucia is a contender to be on this list?
St. Lucia is a prime position as a top contender for vegan travelers because of its agriculture abundance and its growing commitment to plant-based tourism. There's abundant local produce. Thanks to its fertile volcanic soil and tropical climate, the island boasts an incredible year-round supply of fresh produce, often referred to as ground provisions. This includes staples like breadfruit, yams, cassava, dasheen, which is taro root, green fig.
Wait, do they call it ground provisions just because it's all comes from the ground?
Yeah, because ground provisions. Okay, so have you heard of Etal, which is part of the whole Rastafarian belief?
Yes.
So Etal is basically comes from the word vital, and it's a way of life that the Rastafarians follow, where they try to live off the vital nutrients of the earth. So it's very organic. It's not completely plant-based, but it is like organic farming, and it's probably the regenerative type farming where you restore the earth and you just live off the land, basically. Mm-hmm. So they have all these different things that they'll eat, but the one thing they definitely won't eat, because it came from settlers and people from other countries, is salt. Like that reminds me of
interesting. Okay.
It reminds me of like the government. But so as there's not a complete vegan dining in the Etal community, but like a lot of the food is basically vegan.
Okay. It leans that way.
It does. It leans that way. And then there's a health and wellness focus in St. Lucia as well, as the island is increasingly focused on wellness and ecotourism, which naturally aligns with plant-based diets. So you'll find health food stores, juice bars, and resorts that highlight farm-to-table dining, often sourcing ingredients directly from their own on-site organic farms.
Oh, okay. That sounds very interesting. I was surprised when you mentioned Etal, because I really only thought of Jamaica with that. But that's also part of the culture in St. Lucia?
Yeah, it's definitely Etal influenced, but there's also other influences like Creole cuisine, and like there's a big Creole influence from settlers from that. And there's also an influence from East India as well. So you'll find Indian food there and all different kind of things. It's kind of a melting pot of those three kind of influences. But the Rastafarian movement's traditional diet, which we talked about, Ital, is also part of it is abstaining from meat too. So there's really no meat in that diet.
Okay.
But when you talk about the Creole cuisine, it's always been heavily relied on starches and vegetables like rice, beans, plantains, and as we talked about earlier, ground provisions. So historically, plant-based stews and dishes were common, especially in rural areas, well before the term vegan became popular.
Interesting. So then as far as like dining is concerned, you mentioned juice bars and health food stores. Are there vegan restaurants on the island?
Yeah, so there's actually a couple. One of them is actually in a resort, the Anse Chastanet Resort, which is an eco-luxury resort on a 600-acre estate. It has a restaurant called Emeralds, which has an all-vegan menu. They have other restaurants within that resort, but they decided to put together this one restaurant that is just entirely vegan, as they are focusing on more of a health conscious kind of experience. And then there's also another place that's up in Rodney Bay that's fully plant-based. It's called the Green Zen. And I looked at the menu. It looks pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah, the Anse Chastanet, their other restaurants are also vegan friendly, and it's hooked up with the resort Jade Mountain. And those places, they've been there a long time. The Emeralds has actually been there quite a long time as well. I remember when they first announced that it was going to be vegan. That was really incredible. It's a really great place if you're celebrating something. You want to go somewhere special. The views from it are outstanding. St. Lucia is a little bit more of an expensive island, though. So that's why I say celebratory, maybe.
Something I didn't realize when I started researching and looking into St. Lucia a little bit more was that chocolate production has been there for a really long time. It dates back to the 1700s. And they're one of the top producers in the world of cocoa. They're actually in the top 25 producers of cocoa.
That tiny island is?
Yeah, that tiny island. And wow. there's actually you can go and do all these different experiences with the cacao. They actually have in August a month of chocolate with a modern resurgence focused on high quality single origin chocolate production, sustainable farming, and chocolate tourism, including tours, tastings, and spa treatments.
What month is that?
That's August. So people interested in going to St. Lucia in August can go and have like
August
chocolate paradise.
Oh
yeah,
for some
reason they're number 9 in the world when it comes to fine chocolate, which is just like ultra refined, like almost 100% chocolate.
Wow, what a cool experience. I have to go to Ecuador next August, but maybe I'll go the following August. I really want to do this.
The interesting thing about St. Lucia, too, is that it's the only country in the world named after a historical woman, which is St. Lucy of Syracuse.
I love St. Lucia now. You've sold me.
I know. The island was named by French sailors who were shipwrecked there on December 13th, 1502, which is the saint's feast day. So they named it after St. Lucia.
All right. So then we feast on chocolate and yams. I will.
Chocolate, yams. So some of the other stuff they eat there, obviously with their Creole influence, the French crashed there. So that's where the Creole comes from. And East Indian. So the ground provisions, which I've already mentioned, which is a simple, hearty side dish of boiled or roasted root vegetables like yam, dasheen, sweet potato, and breadfruit. I've already said that. There's also callaloo soup or stew, which is a deep green, nutrient-packed soup made from the leaves of the dasheen plant, which is similar to spinach, often cooked down with okra, garlic, coconut milk, and spices. You always have to confirm it's made without crab or salted meat there, because those are traditional additions. So if you're looking for callaloo soup, make sure those are not in it. They also have a lot of vegetable roti, which are large, soft, flat bread wrappers filled with curried chickpeas and potatoes. There's the Indian influence. Just make sure that the dough is made without egg, milk, or butter. And then fried ripe plantains, which obviously are one of my favorite
It's one of
things.
my favorites. Yes.
Um, they're just sweet, they're savory. For people that don't know, they're like a banana but starchier, and they're often sliced and pan fried. But they're almost always vegan, but you got to make sure that they use vegetable oil when they cook it.
Not
And
butter.
then
Yes.
something that's big there is cocoa tea, which is a traditional hot beverage made with local cocoa balls, which are pure unsweetened cacao paste. And then they add spices like cinnamon and nutmeg and sweeten it with sugar. So order it with non-dairy milk or just water for a comforting, authentic breakfast drink.
Oh, that sounds lovely. That's a popular drink in South America as well in the morning. Also, as I know, if anyone's listening is like, what's that weird sound in the background? It's our youngest cat, and she has decided that she is not happy that we are not giving her attention. So she is going to cry. I could hear her a little bit, but I don't know that you could hear her well on this. But just in case you're like, why are they making weird noises? It's not us. It's not us. So back to St. Lucia, markets are also really popular there too, right?
Yeah, markets. So they have something on certain days of the week called a jump up street party.
Ooh,
Friday night. It's a vibrant Friday night party, basically in the Gross Islet, which explores the bustling local markets. And you visit historical plantations and engage with the community to try authentic food and music. Those are big parts of their culture. But the jump up party sounds like a really great time.
yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. And so back to the resorts. In addition to Anastasia Chastenay and Jade Mountain, there also is another resort that people might want to check out. I think it's a Cocoa Bay Beach Resort that offers some great options for travelers.
Yeah, they do have one restaurant there. I believe it's called Seasons.
Yeah,
And they
Veggie
have,
Bistro.
yeah, Seasons Veggie Bistro. Yeah. And they have a dedicated vegan menu there with very refined vegan items.
Very refined vegan items. So not donuts.
Not donuts. It's very fancy kind of eating at Seasons.
Oh, fancy. That's not your kind of place then.
I like
Uh,
it. I'll eat anything.
okay, that is true. And okay, so wrapping up St. Lucia, the other thing that really draws people here is the nature. It's a really great place for hiking and outdoor activities, right?
Oh, yeah. So the pitons, which are a couple of peaks that emerged from volcanoes, basically,
Oh,
uh, are actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it's incredibly beautiful there. It's striking. There's hiking. The rainforests offer like zip lining and thermal mud baths at the sulfur springs. The world's only drive-in volcano. And then around the pitons in the water around there, there's really great like diving and snorkeling because of the water from like the geothermal effect. It's created like really great coral reefs and everything around there.
no
But
way. I wouldn't have
yeah,
thought of that. That's really
yeah.
interesting.
So it's
Yeah,
really, really beautiful. Yeah.
those pitons are always pictured in just about everything you ever search for with St. Lucia. Those pitons are like the first thing that come up. They're really beautiful, and some of those resorts you can get some really beautiful views from some of the rooms that are just like wow, picture perfect, really.
I mean, to me, St. Lucia sounds like a really great place. I know it's a little bit more on like the luxury side and all that, but I think you can go there. I think you can find vegan food, and I think you can have a really great time there.
Yes, I agree. So, out of the three, which island surprised you the most?
I mean, doing the research and looking more into St. Lucia, I was totally surprised. Like, I really want to go there. I can't wait to go back and have a good time and see the pitons and just have a really great trip there.
I think for me, St. Lucia was a bit more of a surprise that so much had changed. I don't know. I guess I'm not really surprised by any of them, if I'm being completely honest, because I look at this stuff every day. So I feel like I'm not a fair one to judge this. If if I had to pick one for a first time vegan traveler, I probably would pick, wow, that's so hard. If they really
First
want
time vegan traveler, I would say Puerto Rico.
I was thinking that only unless they really only wanted beach time. If you really only want to go to the beach, then go to Aruba, I would say. And if you're looking for something like maybe a little bit more off the beaten path, depending on your budget, I think either St. Lucia or Puerto Rico could be that as well. Because in Puerto Rico, you can go to other sides of the island where tourists do not go. You can get into the mountains and you're not going to see other people, and the towns are tiny. You could definitely get off the beaten path very easily there. It is nowhere near as busy as some of the resort areas and many of the other islands.
Which
So,
island do you think that a cruise ship goes to the least?
oh God, I don't know because I'm not familiar with any of the cruise activities goes to the least. It was probably going to come down to an island that just doesn't dock, that doesn't allow them to come in, would be my guess. And I don't know if there is one. Um, Great question to stump me with. I don't know.
The other reason I was asking is because, like, I was saying, out of these three islands, which one do you think a cruise ship's going to go to the least? Because that's part of my thing. I don't want to go and have a bunch of cruise ship people coming off, and there's always like that pop up little town outside of a port and all that. It's always really annoying.
Yeah, well, for sure, cruise ships go into Aruba, but they come in. They don't come into like the Eagle Beach area and the beaches in that spot, but people do get bussed down there. Puerto Rico, they come into Old San Juan, and so Old San Juan can get really, really busy. In St. Lucia, that's a good question. I'm not sure how they manage cruise ships there. I think maybe a little bit differently just because the island is a little bit different. And I think too, like if you're going to Annecy, Chastenay, those areas are a little bit more secluded. So you're not going to be having, dealing with the crowds because those cruise ships have to come into a town, and that's not where those places are. So you would be totally fine. And before we wrap this up, I wanted to just mention that we were going to talk about Jamaica, but as we are discussing, or as we're having this conversation right now, unfortunately, Jamaica is being hit with Hurricane Melissa. And so I thought it was prudent not to encourage travel to an island that we don't know what state it is going to be in. After this episode, I hope, as I'm talking right now, that people are safe and that the island is okay and that they can get through this. But time will unfortunately only tell. And Jamaica does have some really good options for food. As Matt mentioned, the ETAL movement is also alive and well in Jamaica. And there are some resorts that are doing a decent job with some menu options. So hopefully, once Jamaica rebounds from this, you can also add it to your list. But with that, we will wrap this up and also take a look at the show notes because we will drop in there some additional guides, some hotel articles, and some other things to help you plan your next vacation out of the snow or cold or rain or wherever you're trying to escape. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
So much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. If you'd also like to learn more about upcoming Veggies Abroad tours or get additional travel help, visit veggiesabroad.com and also join our newsletter. It's the best way to stay up to date with loads of new content, like where to find gorgeous vegan hotels, what to eat in cities around the world, trip planning tips, and so much more. Well, that's all I've got for now. Until next time.